Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. Crikey, it's been a long time. Yeah, I am live. I am live here. What's going on with Harley Davidson for 2024? This live show, I'm coming into you live and direct from the UK to talk about some of the misinformation recently, some of the stuff that's going on, maybe some new bikes, what's going on with the company, and what the latest rumours are. So, if you like what I do here, as always, don't forget to like and share the video and live show. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell for all the future videos as well. Wrong one. So Harley Davidson. Let us know in the chat, by the way, if you're going to join in. Let us know what you're doing. I'm just rebooting all the software that I used to use as well. A lot of the time I've been spending a lot of time on my other channel, which is just up there on my Edson, which is a sports reaction channel. The links are in the description as well, so you can go check that out. And it'd be great if you could follow along and subscribe as well, if you're into sports, of course. This video or this live show, I wanted to do it live because there's lots of stuff to discuss, and I think there's lots of different aspects that will kind of cover different elements of not only motorcycling world but also the Harley Davidson in particular. I was actually supposed to be going to a big motorcycle show yesterday and today. Yesterday couldn't go for a few other reasons, and then this morning I actually started to set off, and then I had to stop, and because I thought, what am I going for? I wasn't really sure what I was going for, and I had a bit of a moment really where I was thinking, well, the last 2 or 3 years I hadn't really enjoyed it. I didn't really think it was that great, and I'd seen a couple of previews of the show, and I thought, it's much of the muchness. And I thought, well, if I really want to go to somewhere like the big show, which is Motorcycle Live, to get new information, the thing is, I'm always bringing that information, especially on the website, RevelatorAlf.com. So I thought, well, there's not a lot that I can see there that would be that interesting. And I didn't think I'd get anything new. So that's why I just turned around and came back, oddly enough. But anyway, so that's what it was. I was there, and I was on the road, and I was going to go somewhere else, and I thought, you know what, let me just do a live show, which I hadn't done in a long time, and let's just talk about all the stuff that I'd heard and emails that I've been getting from various different people saying, have you heard about this, have you heard about that? So I thought I'd just bring it to you and see what we got. So let's just talk Harley Davidson, right? Harley Davidson. If you're a motorcycle fan, obviously you know Harley Davidson. If you're a Harley Davidson fan, you kind of probably be a bit more involved in it, a bit more engaged with it. Obviously, I ride a Harley Davidson, but I've been thinking about changing it up. And if you follow my channel, I've been test riding all these other bikes. So I've gone away from the kind of Harley Davidson news for the last sort of few weeks. Even on my website, I've sort of stayed away from Harley Davidson news. I just wanted to see what was coming out. I just wanted to see what official information was coming out, which I can quickly say now, not a lot, and that's always been pretty much the case. But even on the rumour mill, now we've just had, I'd say the week or 10 days ago, I kind of knew about this about a couple of weeks ago, about new colour codes. And if you watch my videos, I always say this to you, say, look, watch out in the next 2 or 3 weeks, the colour codes are going to be coming out. And sure enough, the colour codes come out. And I always say, watch out, give it another 2 or 3 weeks, you'll start seeing hints, maybe leaked photos of this bike here or that bike there. Or, so this kinds of happened. And when you're engaged and really tuned in, I call it being tuned in to a particular manufacturer or particular topic, you tend to be able to predict what's going to go on, but also you kind of be able to read between the lines, and you can seek out little snippets of information, and you can kind of start building up a picture. Now, as a normal everyday viewer of this sort of content, you're probably not in that tune, but somebody who produces this content, or somebody who, like a journalist type thing, you're really tuned into what's going on. You kind of get a feel, and you got to get lots of information. So the last few weeks I've come across quite a bit of information, and then you wonder, well, where's this information coming from? Because from my official sources, there's nothing there. There's talk about Harley Davidson bankruptcy. There's talk about Harley Davidson's CEO, Jochen Zeitz, saying how bad things are. They're talking about Harley Davidson stopping the electric bikes. They're going to be shutting down Livewire. There's about 10 different bikes coming out. They're going to be selling all the Chinese bikes, all the Indian bikes. They're all going to be going and sold in America now and in Europe. So lots of this is without foundation. Lots of this is without actual credible source. But if you watch my videos from, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe, when I was talking about different stories, and I was heavily criticized at the time and thereafter for not revealing my sources or not showing you where I would get this information from. As I say, I'm kind of tuned into a lot of this, and I'd be also sent a lot of information as well, because I still operate at that kind of journalist motorcycle magazine level. But even I could see at the time and say, actually, do you know what? I'm not showing my sources. And part of me was thinking I shouldn't really be showing my sources, because a lot of it was confidential, right? Or confidential leaks, I should say. But in some sort of general information videos, I really should have shown my sources. So that's why about last year, was it, year and a half ago, I started producing a lot more live shows and actually showing you where some of these stories were coming from, some of these opinion pieces. Some of these opinion pieces actually are good topics for conversation. So I started to see that, and funny enough, all the criticisms just died down. There was no more criticism of the kind of content or the stories of information I was bringing you, because I was showing you my sources. So that, you know, I raised my hand at the time and saying, yeah, look, I made a mistake. I really should have, what I was doing before, I really should have come with the receipts, as the kids would say now. I really need to show you the receipts. But now I'm seeing it more and more from others. Now, there's no problem somebody having an opinion. And there's no problem in anybody guessing what can happen next, right? Anybody can do that. We could all do that. But if we're trying to pass off something that is an opinion, but as fact, then that's something else. Now people who watch my videos, sometimes, yeah, even now, they'll say, that's just your opinion, that's not fact. Even though I clearly stated in the video, no, this is just an opinion, this is not fact. You know, people still do not want to hear what is actually being said. But here's the thing. You've got YouTube channels out there who are clearly just making stuff up. Clearly saying that the CEO, Harley Davidson, is saying this. Or interpreting or misquoting what he's saying and saying, oh, we're doomed, we're going to fail, the end is nigh. They're also saying, oh, the CEO has said this, we're going to cancel all EV bikes. There's the other thing where they're saying, oh, Harley Davidson are going to shut down all the dealerships now, and they're only going to sell online bikes. Okay, there's another one where what was it? The Harley Davidson now are they're going to be scrapping the Softails, I think it was, and all they're going to do is have the Revolution Max engine bikes. And you're thinking, where's this information coming from? And again, all this stuff I hear, and a lot of it I dismiss. A lot of it are emails are sent to me, which I will never reveal emails by anybody. But I think, where are you getting this information from? Where are you getting this opinion from? Oh, well, somebody told me, they showed me this, so I don't have that source information. And then when you try and Google search it, you think, or, search it online or any kind of publication or even any forum, there's nothing there. There's no source material there. So people just making this stuff up. Well, some of it is, and some of it isn't. And some of it is where I kind of led with this whole video or this live show as well. In that, some sources of information, especially about Harley Davidson, it's where people might be tuned in to the whole background of the company and the dynamics and the sales and things like that. And they're kind of looking at what's happened before, what's happened now, what's the trend here, and they're looking at that. So it's almost like they're making a statistical educated guess. So they kind of come out with an opinion, but the problem is they're coming out with an educated guess, and they're not saying, no, this is just an educated guess. What they're saying is, no, this is fact. But they're also saying, you're also quoting, let's say, oh, a company executive said this, whatever. But the company executive was talking about in general terms. Yeah, the motorcycle industry is having a downturn. It's a bit doom and gloom at the moment, but we're confident that we can come through. So they miss out we're confident that we can come through with our new strategy. But what they take about a quote about the motorcycle industry in general, the automotive industry in general, and they say, no, that person said it, so they're only talking about Harley Davidson. See where I'm going here? And this is where things can get skewed, and this is where, the fake news is pretty awful at times. It's pretty awful. I see it. I see what's going on. I see what's going on in online publications. I see what's going on in forums, and I see what's going on in official outlets and the rumour mill, as it were. And I always say this: watch out, there's going to be lots of rumours coming out. But what of the new bikes for next year? Well, I kind of said in a video 3 or 4 weeks ago now about the rumours that I'd heard of 2024. And so some of the bikes, and probably there's going to be different Revolution Max engine bikes. And where I look at it now, I think, well, that's a rumour, nothing substantial, although I said this is unsubstantiated. Okay. Then you start applying logic to that. And you say, well, actually, Revolution Max engines bikes have not really been that successful. They haven't really developed many motorcycles with that engine. It appears to me that they really need to start making more bikes. So that's an educated guess. Then when you're making an educated guess based upon rumours, and then you start to think, okay, well, maybe my educated guess is exactly the same as somebody else. So we're talking about a 750 Cafe Racer. We're talking about potentially a Softail and a Tourer over the next 2 or 3 years with a Revolution Max engine. We're talking about advances and changes to the Softail lineup, the Tourer lineup, also the engines that they're employing, all the engine sizes, and also the technology in terms of suspension, so on and so forth, right? Well, these are kind of all educated guesses. But then you start talking about, well, what is definitive? What is definite? And I've always said this. We won't know for definite until it comes out the horse's mouth. It comes out of Harley Davidson themselves, in the case of Harley Davidson. Or it could be in the case of Triumph, Suzuki, whatever. So from the official sources, from the official news outlets, from the official press releases, which I put a lot of those directly onto the website as well, there hasn't been anything. There hasn't been anything from Harley Davidson. There's nothing there at all. There's nothing to say, we're going to bring out this bike. We're going to bring out a whole series of bikes. Now, if you watch my videos in the past as well, when I talked about Harley Davidson in terms of how they got up ties in China and now they started producing bikes over there and how they produce in India, I kind of exhaustively went through that process with everybody to explain what was going on and show what's going on. But the question I always asked was actually, would those bikes come over to Europe and the United States? And I asked the same question of Triumph ahead of time. And guess what? Triumph have brought those bikes over to Europe now. Their smaller bikes over to Europe, the ones that are designated for India. Now, it seems if that, yes, the Chinese bikes could be going over to the United States as well. Certainly the 500cc variant. Could that be a realistic thing? Could that be something that will be sold en masse? Yes. Could we be talking... yes, it's a possibility, I should say. How many realistically will be sold, especially in the United States? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure it would be a big seller. Well, I do believe the X500 or certainly the X440 from India, if they brought those over to Europe, I've always said this, those would be quite big sellers as well, because it taps into the European way of riding a little bit. But Does this mean that anything is definite? Well, no, not until there's an official launch in that country. Now, we already know that the X350 and the X500, I believe, has gone to Australia. So if that's a gauge of those small bikes going to another country, then you think actually logic would dictate that it's going to go to the United States. Yeah, guaranteed. Yeah, that seems logical. We already know that the X350 went into the riding academies, don't we? So it was always a question, would these go on general sale? So again, you got to go back to what I was saying before, like a year ago, 2 years ago, to say all these kind of projections, all these kinds of things. These are logical projections. These are questions that needed to be asked, and say, well, yeah, this is kind of right. This seems to make sense. But there's so much poor information here. Now, a lot of what we're seeing in terms of the future of the company is based upon, and I've said this in the past as well, where I would kind of talk about the future of the company and everything. It's based upon 3 elements, I would say. The first element is misinformation. People are spreading negativity for the sake of spreading negativity. It's to support an agenda that they have, right? If you're anti, I can put out a video right now saying how bad, how terrible Harley Davidson are. They're the worst company out there, the worst motorcycles ever. And then there'll be, and this is what we call polarizing, right? You polarize, you take up a position in a video. And this is a strategy by a lot of YouTubers. They take up a position to purposely attract support from one part of the audience, but also alienate another part of the audience. And this creates a bit of conflict. And this creates a bit of, I hate you, I love you, you're talking crap, no, you're talking sense, oh, we hate them too, no, we love them too. All of a sudden it creates this conflict, and then all of a sudden it's a lot more general, a lot more energy around the video that you made. So a lot of this is self-serving. A lot of this is just information that people are putting out, or news outlets are putting out, or trolls are putting out. And we know the extent of not only motorcycling, but everyday life, any facet of life. There are agencies out there are troll farms out there literally just putting out misinformation. So there is that aspect of it. There's the other aspect of it, is that a lot of this on how the company is doing is based upon market analysis, market and financial market analysis. So what I would read a lot in the past, which I should have, and I hold my hand up, and I always repeat this, and I always do this, if I need to hold my hand up, I will. Where I was releasing those early videos about how Harley Davidson are doing, and it doesn't look too good for them, a lot of what I was reading was market analysis of financial reports, market indicators from all around the globe, how they're interpreting Harley Davidson in particular at that time. So a lot of the opinion comes from there. Then also a lot of opinion comes from obviously how they're actually seeing the company do, how they're seeing the company do in terms of sales, but also the reports, the financial reports. So now we've just had recently the third quarter reports, and pretty much I think that I haven't really read into it too much, but I can quickly read into it now. If you go onto the website harleydavidson.com, if you go right to the bottom, you'll see investor relations. Right in there, go into investor relations, and then you'll see all the quarterly results there. It's all there. I mean, there are videos out there. There are people producing videos that bring you this information as well. But essentially, what we're seeing is that there's 15, 16, 20% drop in revenue, in sales, and shipments, and all this sort of stuff. I think overall profits are about there or thereabouts. So I think the same in terms of third quarter results according to 2022. But I think virtually across the board, it's all down. So then you get other videos coming out and saying, oh, the future is doomed. Everything is down. It lost 20% in value and everything. So people would pick out small things from financial results and say, oh, how terrible it is. It's all doom and gloom. Now, it might be. There might be real reason for concern, cause for concern. But it doesn't necessarily mean that. So when things are misrepresented, it's kind of hard to justify, really. And I'm just trying to think. Now, there's one particular site. So I want you to be aware of this. I think they're called. Let me just have a look. Yeah. Let's have a look here. Right. There's one particular... There's actually quite a few. There's not just one. I shouldn't really set out one. But there's one that's coming up recently, and they're drawing a lot of attention. They're drawing a lot of attention because people are then emailing me to say, is this true? Right? And there's one called Motorcycle Central, and there's quite a few that are dotted all over the world. They got like 1,000 subscribers. I think we've got 26 videos, and they're also like doom and gloom. Oh, this said this, no more electric. I'm reading it now. We're doomed. Game over. All this sort of stuff. Then you read it and you think, well, where are the sources of this? And there's no information there. There's nothing there to say. And then you look in the comments and lots of other people and say, well, there's no information here. Is this AI generated, nonsense? Yeah, and a lot of this stuff is kind of, you look at these videos, and this is a big turn off for me when I can hear that it's like a computer generated voice, or the way they're talking. It's normal people don't talk like that. Even presenters. I'm trying to be a presenter, right? Normal presenters don't talk like that. Normal people don't talk like that. Certainly on YouTube videos. It's too flat. It's too, and Harley Davidson did this, and that's what they think it is, and the CAO said that, and that's what, it's a dead giveaway. So it's AI generated, it's computer generated, it's people who are just going off a script, going through some kind of voice analyzer, voice creation program, and then all of a sudden it creates a video. Lots of imagery, lots of B-roll video, and then all of a sudden they make a video. Okay, fine, fair enough. I don't have an issue with that. You're making some video, and you think, okay, this is my opinion, fine. But it's not the truth. Now, if you said right at the start of the video, if you say at the start of the video, this is my opinion, hey, this is what our opinion is from motorcycle, Harley Davidson electric, whatever, hey, fine. If you say, no, this is an educated guess, this is what we think is happened based upon this and that report and this report, and yeah, fine. But if you kind of say, no, we're doomed, and this is all going to fail. Yeah. Now, let me just reel this back a little bit. Reel this back about possibly a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, maybe even a bit longer than that. I was possibly even more than that, actually, 3 years ago now. God, 3 years ago, it's already passed. Since COVID, right? COVID. And I was saying at the time that just watch out. Just be very careful what we're thinking or what we're feeling about companies like Harley Davidson, big companies, about how they're going to act in the future. I was saying it back then. I was saying because of all of the global position, in the economic position, how this is going to affect people, individual people, in terms of domestic finances, your own individual finances. Can you afford to pay for things? Will you have to prioritize over certain things? But also, how's this going to affect, the way we're able to, what products are going to be able to be sold and how much they're going to be sold for, but also the availability, the supply of those products. I was kind of talking about this in lots of different videos, lots of different live shows 2-3 years ago, right? I was doing lots of videos during the COVID time when nobody's able to go out, and I was one of the kind of lucky ones or unlucky ones, depends which way you look at it, because I still had to work. I was one of the people who was seen as an essential worker. So I had a document to say, no, I'm allowed to roam free, as it were, at the time. But I was also very acknowledging that actually many people weren't allowed to do that. Most people weren't allowed to do that at the time, very early stages here of COVID, so the lockdowns. So therefore, I made loads of videos and loads of live shows as well, I think. I did a few live shows, but mostly live videos to say, hey, look, I'm out and about, I'm doing stuff, you know, here, this is what's happening. But I was also saying a lot of projecting into the future, and a lot of those kind of projections, a lot of those predictions, a lot of that analysis which I was doing at the time, possibly, I don't know, possibly, is it scaremongering? I don't know. I think it's more, for me, it's more of a vision of reality, right, of what I think could be happening, right? It was all based upon economics. It's all based upon what could be happening in the future, right? So now we jump forward 3 years. Then all of a sudden, we've got lots of automotive companies that are in serious trouble. We've got automotive companies, electronic companies, and everything who've gone bust or going bust. We've got startups that have gone bust in terms of the automotive world, electric world, everything like that. And we got companies like Harley Davidson who've now, we're definitely starting to see big changes in what kind of products they're producing, what kind of revenue they're getting, what kind of sales are they producing. And what I always said years ago, I always said this years ago, and again, it's all about receipts here, so you're going to have to go back and watch all my videos. So I was saying, one of the real issues with Harley Davidson, for me at the time, was that they didn't sell small motorcycles, cheap motorcycles. And then, when they went to China and when they went to India with those collaborations, they addressed that. But my question was, this may be the saviour of Harley Davidson in terms of a financial sense, but will those bikes ever come to Europe and the United States? And there's a good chance that they could now. Or maybe not all of them, but, you know, certain ones. And obviously, don't forget that certainly with the Chinese, I believe with the Chinese collaboration, but certainly with the Indian collaboration with Hero Motorcorp, there's going to be more Harley Davidsons coming out, small displacement Harley Davidsons coming out. And I always said this, you know, remember the AMF years for Harley Davidson, you know, where they had all those small bikes as well? Well, now I think you're going to have a similar kind of thing. Lots of small bikes coming out in the future, the next 2 or 3 years, right? Are these the bikes, the size of bikes that people are going to want to buy, can afford to buy? And is it going to be the kind of bike for the next generation as well? Because lots of people are saying, well, lots of people are remarking, Harley Davidson are just going to go bankrupt because the bikes that they're selling are just way too expensive. And most people who are buying those bikes are just, you know, older guys, let's say, who've got money in their pocket. But when those guys just stop going digging into their pockets, and they either keep the bikes that they've got, which I've been talking about for a long time, or they move away from the brand, or they just sell up and they just move away from motorcycling at all. They lose, you know, they lose the love of motorcycling as well. Or when they think, you know, well, we've got to prioritise something else, they just don't have that disposable income anymore. Or the cost of borrowing goes up too much, or inflation is up too much, or whatever. All these things which I talked about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, even longer, all of these are factors which are happening now, which have been happening for a long time. So when you look online and you see people making videos saying, well, yeah, this is what, well, I've been talking about this for the last 3 or 4 years. When you see videos to say, oh, this is doom and gloom. Well, actually, a lot of this projection was made about 2 or 3 years ago, because a lot of this is based upon market analysis. And a lot of it is down to false market analysis, false boosting of the economy, or the motorcycle economy, if you like. And then the reality hits. The reality hits of how much these things are costing, how much people can afford, and how does this directly affect sales, and then how does this directly affect the company themselves. So then the company think, we need to change strategy. We need to have a different strategy. So then they think, right, we do definitely need to produce smaller bikes. Hooray, yes. That's what we've been saying for years and years and years. But if we produce the small bikes, that's going to keep the company afloat so we can still produce the big bikes. Right. So then in the report, the third quarter report, Harley Davidson said that the sales of CVOs have been really good, and that's, you know, been really great. But we're still talking, what, 2,000 or 3,000 bikes. In the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of bikes. It's a lot of bikes at your highest number, but it's still not a lot of bikes. So they're suffering in the bread and butter, as it were, of their brand. That's where they're not suffering in the signature bikes or the enthusiast bikes or the icon bikes. They're struggling to sell in big numbers across the whole globe. You can't just think about regional. You can't just think about your own dealership. You got to think about all numbers, right? And this is where people start thinking about next year, 2024 bikes. What's going to happen? And the last couple of years, you kind of think, well, I've been really disappointed with Harley Davidson. They haven't really brought out, something really substantial apart from the Revolution Max engine. Yeah, it's just been a little bit flat. A lot of manufacturers have been consolidating, not really coming out with too much. Maybe 1 or 2 bikes here and there, but nothing brilliant. And Harley Davidson have kind of much done the same. They've chosen a different way of doing it. Instead of coming out with autumn reveals, they come out with a January reveal. Instead of just launching all their bikes at one time, they actually drip feed the bikes throughout the year to generate. So they've changed the way they're marketing their bikes and the way they're delivering to the market. And it's worked. I'm surprised as well, but it's worked in terms of keeping that generation or keeping that enthusiasm and generating that anticipation. What are Harley Davidson going to do next? What are they going to bring out next? What will they come out with in July, let's say? So this is what they've been doing, and it's been working to keep that focus on them. Just when you start to forget about Harley Davidson, they come out with something else. But the problem is that those bikes that are coming out are just still too really expensive, or so expensive that most people can't afford them. So what you do, you go into the used bike market, right? That's what most young people, if you're going to go to Harley Davidson, you're going to go to the used bike market. You're not going to go brand new. Especially when the brand new bikes and the cost of borrowing on the brand new bikes is even more. Or you can't get really good credit anymore because everything's going Pete Tong in terms of the finance markets. So when you're looking forward to next year, you're looking for what bikes are going to come out for 2024, then you're thinking, well, okay, it's kind of you're looking at a consolidation of what we've already done. So when I did my Rumour video a few weeks ago, part of it is educated guess, as I've already said. Part of it is kind of feelers that I'd already had. Vague feelers, and I think I said this in the video. It's so vague that you can't really do anything about it, and part of it is still the same. We're still looking at a 750. We're still looking possibly at another Revolution Max engine in another platform, whether it's a Softail or a Tourer, in the next couple of years. We're still looking at more bikes out of India and China, and we're looking at engine modifications, engine changes, engine size changes in Softails and Tourers. But it doesn't take a rocket science to work that out. It doesn't, you could say, definitive news is, let's say, when somebody leaks the color codes. This is what the color codes are going to be for next year. And then you can say, oh, look, there's a new model code there. Maybe that's something different. Right. Okay. But as I say, until we know what those until Harley Davidson tell us exactly what the new bikes are, that's it. And I always say that. And I wanted to make this live show, and I've gone on for quite a while now. I wanted to make this live show just to kind of explain there's so much misinformation out there. There's so much of opinion coming off as fact, and there's so much out there of vague information out there. And this is not just about Harley Davidson, this is about all sorts of stuff. And not only on YouTube, by the way, this is also mainstream media as well. And mainstream, magazines, online magazines, or even news that you hear on the TV. Some of it is just spurious. Some of it is information. Some of it is like, well, who's paying for this? Where's this information coming from? Who's supporting this? And it just it swells. And if you start digging and digging and digging, you think, well, a lot of it is just nonsense. until it's in your hand, until you have it physically in your hand, as it were, until until you hear direct from the horse's mouth, until you can physically see what is proposed, then you can say, okay, well, I know what it is. But until that time, you don't really know. You don't really know. And so a lot of these YouTube channels who are, they're making big clickbaity titles, and they're coming out with things. Oh, this is what's going to happen next year. This is what is, we know the company's going to fail, and all this sort of stuff, without giving you the source material. Then it's just they're making the same mistake that I made before, but they're making it 10 times worse. They're actually giving you this information as if it's fact, and it's not. And a lot of the times they're giving you this title and they're giving you the thumbnail, but they're not even saying anything in it. And this is where I've always said about people who've accused me in the past, or anybody, of clickbait. Clickbait is when you use a title and thumbnail that says one thing, but anywhere in the content of your video has nothing to do with that. And that's what clickbait is. And if you're going to fall for this, fine. There's no problem. If you're going to engage in that conversation, fine, that's up to you. But just know that not only in motorcycle world, but in lots of other stuff that we're seeing right now, there's lots of information that just clearly isn't correct. That clearly isn't correct, or it's without foundation, or it's without substance. And in terms of Harley Davidsons for 2024, at this stage, for me at least, they're still educated guesses, or the stuff that I've heard is still unsubstantiated, or it's only substantiated by other means, and those other means can't be substantiated as well. So I suppose I always look at this now, especially since my website became like a news website as well, that I've really started looking at sources, really started looking at what can be corroborated, what can be defined as factual information or source information, or what has to be categorized as opinion or an educated guess. So if it's going to be an opinion or educated guess, then I would say yes. Now, this video, this live show, is my opinion. Of what I see coming out. And it's my opinion based upon what I do and what I see other people doing. What I see about Harley Davidson for next year, for 2024, it's based upon educated guess. It's still opinion, but it's an educated guess. But it's also some unsubstantiated rumours thus far, and information and emails that I've got saying this could be happening or this could be happening. But again, there's nothing substantial. I hear so much stuff on a regular basis about lots of different brands, lots of different motorcycles, lots of different things. But it's great to have. But until I have some other piece of information, it's kind of worthless. And, that doesn't mean to stop sending me the information, of course. Yeah, I always welcome that information. But it's more about getting the right information out to you. And if this is what's happened in a lot of media outlets, news media, and also motorcycle media and everything, there's a rush to bring out the story to you just to get the headline out and just to get that information out before real checks are done on that story. And I see that quite a lot. And I see that in news media, not only motorcycle news media, but general mainstream media, news media as well. There's a rush to bring out information. There's a rush to bring out stories. And there's nothing, when you start digging beneath the surface, a lot of that, they haven't checked their sources properly, or they get the information wrong. But they kind of brush over that and they move on to the next story. My intention is never to do that. My intention is to bring you either opinion, is to bring you educated guesses, or to bring you factual information. And where I see all the factual information coming from, or going to, for me, it's onto my website. Onto the website is definitely where I put all the factual information, because those are all the press releases, and that's all the noted information that I get ahead of time. Or sometimes I'm a little bit later, but a couple of days later, and it gets put on there. But if I'm talking about making videos about certain things, then yeah, hey, you know, a lot of it is in opinion. A lot of it would be in opinion. But I think a lot of it is going to be in the future that I'm not really going to be doing this, what I did in the past, on this platform anyway. And the kind of videos which I've made recently are kind of discussion topics. They're obviously motorcycle riding videos and everything like that. But moving into 2024, yeah, I've got some big decisions to make, how I'm going to carry it forward with this channel, but also how I'm going to carry forward with that sports channel as well. Anyway, listen, I thought I'd bring that to you. If you're watching this video later, you know, please leave a comment in below. Let us know your thoughts. If I've missed any of your messages, I do apologise for that. I have sort of rambled on quite a lot, and there's a lot to talk about. As I say, there's lots of different elements in this live show. I couldn't really make one video. I could have made 10 different videos on the very small subjects, but I thought it would be better just to do one live show, and hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully it's pause for thought for a lot of stuff that you might be seeing out there from even well-known YouTube accounts. Just to say, and I always say this at this time of year, just be careful what you're hearing, where it's coming from, how much information they're actually releasing, and what the words are actually using. Because if they're saying something's fact with it actually being factual, there's a problem. For me, there's a problem. If they're saying, no, this is an opinion, this is what I've heard, this is a rumour, I've got no problem in that whatsoever. Because they're being upfront and honest and saying, look, this is just a rumour, I don't know. But there we go. And then they can give you a whole backstory and say, look, this is a rumor, I heard that this bike is going to be sold here, look, this is what it looks like, this is what it is, and this is but you know, if they just say that, fine, no problem at all. But it doesn't make it fact, right? It doesn't make it factual. Anyway, listen, what's happened to the something's happened there. There we go. Something's gone wrong with it. Anyway, I hope you're all well. Anyway, so if you like what I do here, say like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell. I'll catch you on another video. Loads of more videos coming up until Christmas. As I say, I'm sort of working on what I'm going to be doing next year, whether I change things or continue a different way. I'm not disappearing. But I may not just produce as many videos as I have done, and I may just continue with my sports channel as well. But let us know your thoughts on anything that I talked about, and what you like to see from Harley Davidson as well for next year, or any other manufacturer as well. And, well, I'll catch you again, whenever that is. Let me just turn this off. Catch you again. Bye now.